This is First Coast Math Clinic with Lesson 13, Dividing Decimals, from our Foundational Skills videos. So the goal in this video is to perform division operations with decimals. So let's start with our first example. We've got 5 4/10 divided by 1 2/10. So in our division problem, all right, that 5 4/10 is going to go under our division sign, and then the 1 2/10 is going to go outside of our division sign. And the first thing we're going to do is to make our math a little bit easier is we're going to see if we can actually get rid of our decimals. And to do that, we're going to move our decimal values to the right. All right, so we're going to look at our decimals and say, okay, well, where are they? And starting with the value outside of our division sign, and we're going to move our decimal point to the right. So I can move my decimal point one place to the right, and however many place values I can move this decimal point, I'm going to move the decimal on the value I'm dividing into the same distance, same direction. Right? So I can move this decimal one place value. So my new decimal is after the 2, so it's right here, and then decimals after the 4. So my new values here, this is, instead of 1.2, this is 12, and 5.4 becomes just 54, right? So basically what we did is we're kind of like multiplying the 1.2 and the 5.4 by like the same value. We're multiplying by like 10 and 10 to move the decimal point the same distance and same direction. So it makes our division a little bit easier, so we don't have to worry about the actual location of the decimal point now. So now we've got 54 divided by 12. So let's divide that out, right? So 12 goes into 54 4 times. 4 times 12 is 48. Subtract, and we get 6. So now 12 doesn't go into 6, so now I'm going to add a decimal in my answer, put a 0 as a placeholder, bring that 0 down. So now 12 goes into 60 5 times. 12 times 5 is 60. Subtract, and I get 0. So now my answer is going to be 4.5, or 4 5/10. So my answer here should be 4 5/10. So let's do a couple more examples, and in each of the examples we're going to move our decimal value to make our division a little bit easier to do. So for number 2, we've got 192 78/100 divided by 3 4/10. So before we even set this up in our division sign, all right, so our division bar is here. Let's move that decimal and get the divisions, or the decimal in the correct position, okay? So we know we're going to be dividing by the 3.4, 3 4/10. So let's move this decimal first, and we're going to move it to the right. We can only move this decimal one place to the right, which means we can only move this decimal one place, right? We can only move our decimal the same distance, same direction, right? So this is now 1,972 and 27 8/10 divided by 34. So the 34 is outside of our division sign, and the 1,927 8/10 is underneath our division sign. All right, so again, we made our division a little bit easier just by getting rid of the decimal, or moving the decimal from the number we're dividing by, and we move that decimal just to make our work a little bit easier, right? All right, so let's start our division. So we've got 34 into, well, we know 34 doesn't go into 19, so let's start with the 192. So 3 goes into 19, probably about 5 times. So let's start with 34 times 3 goes into 19, probably 5 times. So let's try 5. So I'm going to do some multiplication off to the side. So 0, 2, and we get 17. Okay, so that's going to work. 6 is probably going to be a little bit too big. So if I try 6, we'll get 4, 2, and we'll get 204, right? So that's going to be too big. So let's use the 5. So erase that. So we get 170. Subtract, and we get 220. Bring down the 7. And then I've got, so I know 34 times 6 will get me to 207. All right, so let's maybe use that 6 now, because that's as close as I can get to 227. So 34 times 6 is going to be 204. So if I subtract that, I'm going to get 230, and I'm going to bring down this 8. So I'll put this decimal point, bring that decimal point up in our answer. And well, 34 times what gets us close to 238? Well, let's, off to the side, try 34 times 7. What do we get there? 4 times 7 is 28. Put down the 8, carry the 2. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 gives me 23. So that gives me what we need. So we get 238. Subtract, and we get 0. So our answer here should be 56.7, or 56 7/10. So our answer here should be 56 7/10. Let's do one more example of dividing decimals. So here we've got 8,464 10,000ths. So remember that 4 is in the 10,000th position. Our 3 here, this is in the tenths, hundredths, thousandths place. So we've got 23 thousandths, so divided by 23 thousandths. So let's start by moving our decimal here. So we can move our decimal 1, 2, 3 place values. So we want to start with the value we're dividing by. So we're moving our decimal 3 places to the right. So this is going to give us 23. So 3 places to the right. So let's do the same thing with this decimal. Move it 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. So this gives us 846.4, or 846 4/10. Okay, so let's set up our division. So let's start with 23 into 84. So 23 goes into 84. Let's try 3 times. So we get 9 and 6. 4 is probably going to be too big. So if we do 4, we get 12, and that's going to be 92. So let's do 3. So 69. Subtract, and we're going to get 15. Let's bring down that 6. So now we want to figure out, well, 23 goes into 156. How many times? So let's do some multiplication again off to the side. I'm going to try, well, 23 times 4 got us 92. So if I try 5, this is going to give us 115. Let's try 6. $138. If I try 7, this gives us 161. So this is going to be too big. So let's use the 6. So we're just testing some values, doing some multiplication out, and seeing what fits. So 23 times 6 gives us 138. If we subtract this, so let's do some borrowing. This will become 4. That'll become 16. So this is 1, 8. Let's bring down that 4. All right, we already know 7 times 23 isn't going to be big enough. So if I do the times 8 over here, 23 times 8. And we'll get 184. Put the decimal, bring up that decimal. So now remember to bring up the decimal here when we're doing this. So put the 8 in my answer. 184. Subtract. So my answer is going to be 36.8 for our answer. Okay. So these were 3 examples on dividing decimals for lesson 13 from our foundational skills videos. If you like this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. First Coast Math Clinic.